Hey guys, Lisa Figueroa, board certified criminal defense attorney, back to talk to you about the Alicia Andrews case. We gave you our reaction to the verdict, and now a lot of people are wondering what's going to happen next. What's she going to be sentenced to? When's the sentencing? So for starters, the sentencing is December 8th. She's going to be sentenced. Some people asked, why wasn't she sentenced right away, right after the trial? Because it is her first offense, she's entitled to a PSI. In Florida, that's a pre-sentence investigation. So someone from probation will come out to the jail. She's actually in custody. The jurors weren't supposed to know that she's in jail, but she's been in jail since she was arrested on the case. The PSI, she's entitled to a pre-sentence investigation, and that usually takes 30 to 45 days. This is a pretty quick turnaround. The judge gave them a deadline to get that to the court before December 3rd, I believe, and then that's basically a summary of her background. If she has any prior criminal history, which she doesn't, and we know that, and that's why she gets one of these. But the other thing is, where'd she go to school? Did she have any problems at school? Any mental health background? Family support? Did she work? Community service? These kind of things. And basically, the probation officer makes a recommendation to the court as to what they think the sentence should be. Now, a lot of times, probation basically just says they believe that she should be sentenced to whatever the guidelines are. In Florida, there's a thing called a score sheet. You get points based on the type of charge that you are facing. And that's what determines the lowest amount of time that the judge can give you. So in her case, anytime that there's a death, you get death points. And so it's always around 10 years, a little over 10 years as a bottom. Some of you may have heard, but there's a thing called downward departure. The judge sometimes can go below that minimum of those 10 years if there are certain things like she was an accomplice, which that's one of the things here. She is supposedly an accomplice, and she played a minor role. She was a minor participant. Also, her age could be a factor, and there's a list of different things of why or how a judge could downward depart. So what's going to happen at the sentencing? At the sentencing, the state is going to have the opportunity to bring the victim's family and give a statement and make a presentation to the judge. Likely, they're going to be asking for the maximum sentence in this case, which is 15 years in prison. On the other hand, the defense attorney is going to have a presentation, maybe call Alicia's family. Alicia will have the opportunity to give a statement as well, and then the judge will make a decision on that date. What's always up in the air in these cases is what a judge is going to do, because the judge really has a full range. If the judge believes that there's basis to downward depart, they could give her probation. They could give her probation, and she doesn't have to spend another day in jail. On the other hand, the judge could think that she walked away from a life sentence, and so she's lucky that she gets 15 years and she could max her out. And I've seen that happen. I had a case where a client of mine was facing a 25-year minimum mandatory prison sentence, charged with trafficking in prescription pills. There was a pill bottle found in the back seat. She's the only one driving. They claim that she knew that she had possession of it. She turned down the prison offer that the state gave her, and we went to trial. There was some small bits of marijuana in the car, and we go to trial. They find her not guilty of the trafficking, but find her guilty of the marijuana possession, which really should have just been a misdemeanor probation. So the judge ends up giving her 6 months in jail right before Christmas. So it was uncalled for, unnecessary, and in fact, he made a comment like, well, she's a drug trafficker. And I'm thinking the jury just found her not guilty of the trafficking. So you just don't know what the judge is really thinking, and there were some bits here and there in this case where you get the feeling that the judge might be a little bit annoyed with the defense or how things are being presented, and it seemed a little unfair, which reminds me of this one point during the defense attorney's closing argument. He's attempting to bring up the fact that the case was not picked up by the feds or something to do with the feds, and the state objects and saying it's not relevant. However, it was something that did come in the trial testimony, and normally in closing arguments, we're allowed to talk to the jury about anything that came in. So whether it was relevant or not, if it's in, and we can talk about it.
The ATF agent testified that the feds were not referred to this case.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
I said the ATF agent testified that the feds were not referred to this case.
Okay, well, that is not relevant to this, to
He
your...
testified to a judge.
I understand, but it should have been objected to, so...
And then she makes the comment that that's not relevant, and he reminds her, but it came in. And she goes, well, it shouldn't have. They should have objected. I thought that was a little out of line. Unfortunately, the judge really has to do their best to not interject, and for the jury to hear that the judge thought that the state should have objected to something could potentially be an appealable issue for them. And that may not be the only basis for an appeal. In any case where the defendant ends up getting a significant amount of jail time or a conviction on their record, the defense attorney will initiate an appeal no matter what. So that's going to happen regardless of the outcome at sentencing. In any appeal, what they'll look at is, were there any other mistakes that the court made, that the judge made, any prior pretrial rulings, motions? There were a lot of motions in limine, things trying to keep evidence out. And so the appellate court will look at that. Were there any errors made? Were there any errors made during the trial? All of that is going to be reviewed to determine if she should get a new trial or whether or not the verdict was even valid. You know, this case really is a warning to a lot of young women out there that are in a relationship with someone that might be cute, or maybe they're living this life that seems attractive for whatever reason. But it really shows you the dangers of being involved in that kind of environment, how open and vulnerable they are. Ring camera video, your cell phone records, every text, every video that she sent to people that she thought was private, how she dresses, how she talked now is being read to a jury, and her life and fate is on the line. And they're going to judge her based on how she's texting, LMAO, and all of these things that young kids are really not thinking anything about. And now the whole world is seeing it. So it's definitely a cautionary tale to be careful, choose your friends wisely. It's just not worth it at the end of the day. So that's what's to come, and we'll see what happens on December 8th for the sentencing. We'll be back again with some more videos commenting on other things in the news and answering some of your questions. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon.